Welcome to another episode of STO Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a classic, stealth, or beast mode subscriber. Welcome back to another episode of STO Nation. This episode is the second part of 3 in the Storyteller HQ series of When I Spent a Week There. So for this episode, I'm really excited for you to be able to hear from Brent Lang. He's the VP in Design and R&D for Storyteller, and I'm excited because he's the ingenious man who took all the ideas from the Storyteller team and figured out how to implement it and make it functional in all the modes. Brent is a person who designed the Halo Shower and the Groove Lounge that we all love, and after being able to sit down and talk to him, there's nothing that he didn't think of when designing the Storyteller mode. This is a really insightful and fun episode, and I know you're going to like it because it's packed full of information to include Easter eggs. So sit back, relax, and please welcome Brent Lang to the STO Nation family. Out that I sync with the clap. He was like so happy.
You do it.
I was like, thanks, because it's totally amateur hour. I don't know if you see my YouTube version. It's amateur hour. I know this.
It's all good.
But it's the content, not what it looks like, right?
Right. It's self-content.
Okay. Sorry, I gotta get myself.
It's okay. Yeah. Like chords and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I thought about investing in wireless headphones.
Yeah.
And I actually might do that, especially after traveling, because usually I just have it in my van and I pop out and do it or whatever. But I think maybe going the wireless route might be good. The problem is that the dynamic mics, which I really like, you can't do them wireless. They all have to be XLR that I've seen.
Got you.
So let's get into business with that.
Okay, we can do business. let's do the business thing.
I know, right? You could probably have like 10 different side gigs already.
Well, we've got so much going on here. It's kind of a lot to focus on. So yeah, it's an opportunity of many hats, if you will.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to officially thank you for coming on to STO Nation.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for your time. I know you guys are like super swamped and
A little bit
with the big announcement of 2022 and all that. So, but my very first question I want to start off with is, what do you have against shoes?
So why
are you always wearing flip-flops?
I love flip-flops. Yeah, I wear, and this is awful because I used to talk bad about people or rainbows. I love rainbows now. I got a pair and I was like, okay, this is awesome. I just really, really love flip-flops. That's just kind of my thing. So yeah, it's kind of funny when you're walking around the hall. I'm kind of a bigger guy. So the joke around here is that you can at least hear me coming. So, cause it's just flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. So doing stuff like that. I really, really like flip-flops.
So like rain or shine, snow, sleet, flip-flops?
Yeah, it was actually funny. My wife Mars and I, we actually took a trip out to Portland and Mount Hood. I packed my flip-flops. They're great for flying on airplanes too, right? Because like you're going through TSA stuff and everyone's like having to untie their shoes. I'm just like, boop, boop, there you go. Cool. Mm-hmm. Walk across the floor, there we go. All right, good to go. Well, we went to Portland and went to the top of Mount Hood, and being from Alabama and it's like, March-ish or whatever, we didn't anticipate there being any snow on the top of Mount Hood. So we drive up there and say, okay, cool. Oh, wow. Hey, there's a bunch of snow. Oh, wow. Hey, there's snow drifts. All right, let's get out and walk around. Hey, let's go up to the lodge at the top. I think it was Overlook or something like that. And yeah, I got out in flip-flops. I was fine. So
that's funny.
Yeah. But
wow.
Yeah, I love flip-flops.
Your feet weren't freezing?
They were a little cold. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about it. They were a little cold. It wasn't horrible though. Okay. But we got back in the car and we were just kind of walking around just a little bit. But yeah, that was. Yeah.
But you never once was like, man, I wish I had some shoes.
It would have been pretty nice for that. I'm not gonna lie. Could have walked around a little bit more, but still, it's just one of those things. It's comfortable. Also, I love driving barefoot.
Barefoot, really?
Barefoot. Oh yeah, man, driving barefoot. That's where
Why?
it's at. I don't know. It just feels right to me.
Okay.
you have to worry about like some special like race cars and stuff. Like they'll have like really aggressive like pads on like pedals and stuff like. So you got to be a little bit worried about that. But for the most part, like I just love driving barefoot.
Oh wow. Okay.
Probably not legal, but whatever.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
We only do it off road.
I didn't know it might be illegal to do that, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of it's one of those things. So my dad always used to get mad at me when I was younger about it because he was just like, you're always wearing flip flops. I'm like, yeah, I know. So and the other joke is how many engines I've changed out with flip flops, which again,
Oh my goodness.
foot safety is good safety. So
Right?
yeah, but I actually do have a pair of shoes. I do have a pair of shoes. They're safety shoes. So
Okay.
yeah, but I like flip flops up here though.
That's good.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the southeast, so it can't get too cold.
Not really. Like, yeah, I mean, actually, Birmingham is nice. It does actually get cold. Where I met my wife in Savannah, like, it gets to like 60 degrees, and that's like cold.
Yeah.
It did actually snow there like once in the past like 10 or 15 years. So, anywho,
Yeah.
but yeah, Birmingham's pretty nice about that. So, yeah, we elevated temperatures for the most part.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for explaining the flip flop situation. Because that was the first thing when I showed up to HQ. It's like, you can hear Brent come down the hall because of his flip flops.
Yep.
And I was like, does he wear shoes? And they're like, no.
No. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like our office is like a U shape, and I'm usually like, I'm not necessarily barreling down the hall. It's just I got to go there. I got to get a print or like for a blueprint or something like that. So yeah, I walk with purpose.
That's good.
Yeah, flip flop. So you hear me coming. We
Get
don't
out
have
of the
mirrors
way.
yet.
Oh.
Not yet.
Maybe in the new building.
Maybe in the new building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But so what's really cool about your position is that, well, let me rephrase it. What I really admire about you is the fact that you basically designed the Storyteller, the inside, the RV portion. Just for clarification, I know you didn't design the Mercedes chassis, but
Yeah, we didn't do the Mercedes
Yeah.
chassis. But I will say that, like, yes, I do a lot of the design work for our interiors. But I will say what's awesome about Storyteller is that everyone here shares a part in that design process. So by no means is this just a representation of what I think and what I think is cool. Like it is a collaboration of just about everyone here at the building. We've got probably I would say the best team in the world in order to do this. The team that I work with, specifically with with Jeffrey, Lee, Andrew Cooley, and then Adam Donaldson, who's systems design and integration and testing, and then Dylan Hollingsworth. He's actually another industrial designer that we brought on board just about a year ago. Everyone gets to share in that process. And even some of the things that we hear from the service side of things, like from Dan, Angie, and Jeremy, those are insanely valuable. And that actually does lead a lot of our decision making going on down the road. So, yeah, it's a really, really big team effort. I'm only as good as the team here, and we really have awesome people that are wicked talented and pretty wickedly smart as well.
yeah, I definitely get that vibe from you guys. You're like way up here. It's so cool.
Well, we try really, really hard. We like listening to people. We like hearing feedback about what things could potentially improve the vehicle, so on and so forth. So, but yeah, again, that creativity is shared on every level here at this company. So I just am very thankful that we get to be a part of it, and there's an awesome community that is willing to share their experiences and help us get better. So we're very appreciative of that. So
How did you get your start in Storyteller? How did that all come about?
So that's a really good story. It's a little bit of a long story. I guess I originally started off in engineering back when I was in high school. I had an old 1972 Carmen Ghia and really loved it. Went down to Auburn University for engineering, found industrial design, fell in love, got that start. Graduated right around the Great Recession. Decided, hey, let's go ahead and go to grad school. Went to Savannah College of Art and Design, where I did design management, and ultimately met my wife. While we were signing for our first apartment together, I got a call about an opportunity located down the road from here. It's now SCA Performance, which is where I got to meet Jeffrey. And we started doing some really, really cool VIP van build stuff. So this is like, really big TV screens, home theater, really, really awesome seats that are optioned to the roof and back, the sound system stuff. And that's where Adam came in and really helped and made that just wickedly awesome and very, very cool. And so we did that. Then I went for a little bit, did a stint at Michelin as an embedded contractor at a BF Goodrich plant. Actually worked at the plant that actually makes the tires that go on this vehicle. So worked there. I really, really enjoyed it. I was a contractor though. There was potentiality going full time, but when Jeffrey called me up and told me about what we're doing, it's just, yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
So
the rest is history.
The rest is history. So a lot of good experiences with both manufacturing industry, but also working with this team. We have a very long history. So yeah, like we've, Storyteller, been around for just about 3 years now, around-ish. And, the majority of our work history goes even previous to that. So
right.
In a similar industry, but that's all VIP stuff. That's
right.
That kind of thing. Like
well, I mean, before the first Storyteller rolled out, I'm sure there had to been I don't know, I'm guessing at least a year of work and design and figuring stuff out before that
there was
implemented.
There was a lot of initial conversations over what this would look like. And that did happen. It did happen over a span of time, but that's also while we were all still doing our own kind of independent things at the time. So there was some conversation, and that eventually evolved into what ultimately happened, and started in 2018 and continued on into 2019 with the big release at RVX.
So out of the original floor plan that you guys started designing, what was the most challenging part of it?
All of it. Let me specify a little bit.
Okay. Let's talk about the Halo shower.
Okay.
That's pretty ingenious. A lot of people love it. The way that you keep everything open, I mean, that was a priority when you were designing, right?
Absolutely.
So walk us through the process of the Halo shower and how that became the real thing.
This is going to get a little bit weird. And it's going to get a little bit weird because you have to look at how a vehicle, because ultimately the first thing this is a vehicle. I know I'm talking about a vehicle right now, and then we're going to talk about a shower. But ultimately the vehicle, you design around your seating system first, right? Because that's your safety stuff, all that stuff. You have seat pull tested, so on and so forth. So once you figure that out, that then determines where your shower can go and how big it can be, so on and so forth. So that was one of the things of how do we keep this open, still meet guidelines provided by RVIA. Those are extremely important. That's a set of rules that we have to follow.
RVIA, what is that?
That is the RV Industry of America, and they set they're a unified body. It's not necessarily government related, but it is a I won't say a commission necessarily, but it is a group that actually goes in and makes sure that, hey, RV builders are actually doing stuff to code correctly.
Gotcha.
So there are a certain set of guidelines that we had to follow, which that then affected the design of that. So with that being said, in terms of a shower, keeping it open was one of the largest things. That's one of the things that Jeffrey did a great job setting forth, doing it right off the bat was this is daily driver meets weekend warrior. So we wanted this idea that if you didn't really want the shower in there, and you just wanted to use that as extra space, you could actually remove the Halo shower system and use that as an additional storage space. The same thing for the cassette toilet, so on and so forth. So that area is really designed to be, if you want it to be a shower and a toilet, you can do that. If not, you can take that out. But that whole system has to work with the seat that's right in front of it. That also has to work with a system that's right behind it, which is your water side and stuff. So it's kind of one of those things you change something here. It's kind of like it's just kind of one of those things, like you change something here and then it creates a hurricane over here. It's just one of those things. So it's all
like a domino effect type thing. It
is a domino effect thing, and when we do, we have a lot of fun with doing really creative ideas. But it's also one of those things that's like, man, I really need 1/8 of an inch here, and it's just kind of how it is. But that was one of the fun things that was really interesting to design, just because it's it's fold outable and stuff like that. We had looked at some different concepts of, well, what if we just, hung a sheet from the ceiling? And it's like, well, that's not very cool,
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of those things. That's the process. And it's actually really funny. We helped put that together, the very, very first one, at like 2:00 in the morning, because that's the nature of a beast when you're doing prototypes and stuff like we did at RVX. Like, there's it's it's thought out as it could be at that time, but we needed to actually make it to work for the show, and it did. It worked. It actually worked very, very well, and then it was an iterative process of constantly refining it, changing the way that the shower actually hung on it, stuff like that. So
yeah. And then how does that play, since we're talking about the domino effect, we're talking about the Groove Lounge, that in itself is like ingenious in like my opinion and many others. Like that's one of the hugest benefits of owning a Storyteller is being able to have all those different positions for the Groove Lounge. So how did you guys come up with that? Like, was it like, hey, we want to be able to move this seat multiple ways, or was it something that was like, okay, we have this seat, and then just so happened that someone thought of that? Like, what was the process behind that?
With the process specifically behind the seat, it was, what is something that's comfortable that we can actually do is multi-purpose. Because here's the thing: it's not just a seat, and it's not really just a bed. It is actually a lounge. The other thing is that how that was able to transform and what that needed to be for the customer was also another thing. So, but that's also to say that like if someone's actually riding in there and you're going down the road, it needs to be in the riding position with the seatbelt on. That's the way that needs to be used. But if you're parked somewhere and you're camping out, like if you want to turn it into that like kind of mid-century looking sofa, like you can totally do that. That was part of that process. It also has affected a lot of the lower showers and stuff. Like a lot of people, it's like, I really want a larger toilet. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'd love for you to have a larger toilet, but like that seat dictates how high that is. So that's just kind of one of those things. And I think some people on the forum on the Mode Lifers, like they've really found some interesting setups for that.
Oh, yeah.
But the process of, well, we want it to turn into a bed, but we don't want it just either be just a bed or just a seat, like a regular riding seat. We want this to actually work and how you want to. And honestly, like one of the coolest things is seeing people's dogs on it, like the dog bed. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like our dog Sirius, like he loves to hang out there. So that's really, really cool to see that. But seeing how taking something and said, okay, it can be a seat, okay, it can be a bed, but what kind of seat? Do we want it to do these certain things? Also the ability to completely put the Mercedes seat all the way back against the chair and put it in its lowest position. That'll actually allows you, because I know a lot of people. I'm 6'2", so I'm a pretty tall dude, but I've got a cousin that's like 6'6". So and I've got a friend that's 6'4". Like that's really tall. So if you actually do that correctly with the seat, make sure it's all the way back, all the way down, and the front rest on the seat all the way in, you can actually make that a very, very long bed. So that was another thing that was fought for in terms of design on that. So,
is there anything you guys didn't think of? Because I don't know, the Groove Lounge is perfect in my opinion. So you guys did a great job.
Well, thank you very much. That's been that's a huge team effort. Adam was absolutely instrumental with us getting that pull tested. That was really, really exciting. It's a really, really big win for us, and there will be constant improvement over it.
Oh, what does that mean?
There will be constant improvement over that.
Is that a little wink wink you'll find out when the time comes? But well, so I'm basically, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of moving down the van about things that separate you from the competitors. So one of the other things that separate is the folding bed. So not necessarily the folding bed, because that's been around, or the dividing bed. Is that the proper?
the Dreamweaver.
Yeah, the Dreamweaver.
Yeah.
That concept in itself isn't new, but how you changed it to be able to make it where you could actually work on that bench, I think is new. So what's the story behind that?
So that was kind of one of the things in our previous life, and I'm going to refer to the previous life, this back when we were doing VIP kind of stuff, is that a lot of these were used as mobile offices, which is really, really great. There's umpteen different versions of mobile offices. I've got the 40-inch TV screen with the connectivity and the satellite dish on the top, so on and so forth, and the super duper luxe cushiony chair. That's really, really cool. But there's also like, hey, I want to do some mobile work. It honestly, like with how COVID has happened and people are now saying, hey, you can like work remotely, like that makes so much sense. So that actually doing that as a work surface was really, really kind of crucial. And what's even kind of crazier is that my wife and I, we were able to take the prototype forward, not the white one, but the gray one. I'm so glad we can finally talk about the gray Ford. Um, so we actually took that. I was able to sit on the Groove Lounge with the Lagoon table and do actually CAD work right there. And she was actually in the back using it down. So what's nice about it is actually two workspaces that you can kind of do. The reason why that was important is because it is kind of a standing height desk, if you will, and also just having more availability for workspace when you need it. That's kind of the whole idea of the vehicle. That's why it's called the mode, is so that you can put it into different configurations that are what you need right there at that time, and then put that away or change around and configure it how you need it for whatever activity that you're doing. So that being said, it was fantastic that did what it did, and we're still have that continue going forward. So yeah, that's something that I'm really glad that we went through with that. I think it's been really, really awesome.
Oh yeah, and then Jason from Kenya Adventure Vans and some other people out there just kind of just did their thing, and it just makes it so much more. I don't want to say useful, but it definitely enhances
Right.
what you've built on.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like we also recognize that other companies are going to do some really, really cool stuff in the back, and that's kind of like the goal, right? Is that we provide that canvas so that people can do those things that are specifically tailored to their need, such that you can go ahead and buy the van, do the cool stuff and things, and then, oh hey, I'd like a little bit better organization here that's more tailored to my need. Okay, cool. There's someone out there that's wicked talented at what they do and has really awesome ideas, and then they can build something and put it in there, and then it's now a part of that person's system for the van.
Right. So I want to kind of switch subjects and talk about hinges. Those are some heavy duty hinges on
Which
the
hinges?
covers.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Some would say it might be overkill. Some would say it's perfect.
Are you talking about for the overhead cabinets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you lift up and stuff.
So here's the thing with that. Whenever you have a gas piston over time, it's actually I won't say that it's going to weaken a little bit, but it does over time, over use, it actually kind of breaks in. So yeah, they are a little bit harder. Because the thing is, if they're just right, like where you're doing that, by the time that kind of rolls around, then it starts. We'd much rather have someone have the experience of it goes up and it stays up, and it kind of swings up a good bit, versus it's now coming down and you're going to hit your head on it, and that's not good, because that's something we definitely, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, that is one thing, being a taller person, when cabinet doors are open and I go up and I hit it, oh boy, it's that's not a fun time. So it's not a fun time for anybody.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, yeah, I have that problem all the time, hitting my head on stuff because I'm so tall.
Yeah, no, that's my irrational side of when I hit my head on stuff. Oh man, it's bad. So
that makes sense. So what I'm hearing really is everything that you've designed, you've thought for not only someone my size, but someone your height as well.
Right.
So
you're supposed to design, typically with design, you're supposed to design to the 95th percentile, which that is there's some, the U.S. government and specifically the Army, Armed Forces, like they have set regulations for space design with regard to body size and measurements, ergonomics, right? So we follow those guidelines to a certain extent where we totally can, in order to make that accessible for most everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So what design or thoughts in the very beginning didn't make it into the mode?
That's a really, really hard question. I think we had like some. The way that we kind of approached like doing that is that we solved little areas and then kind of populated out the rest of the van so that we could attack each problem or each design challenge that we could. And then once that was solved, we moved on to the next. I will tell you, like, one of the things that we originally looked at doing was doing our own shower pan, in which that would be like a laser cut bent like tub. But that's also one of those things. It's like, okay, that's really, really cool. But hey, that actually needs to be tested, right? So any of the components that we put into the vehicle, if they're electrical component, they have a special listing for that, things of that nature. Same thing with plumbing, right? So there's a lot of that stuff was, okay, this would be, I mean, yeah, you can totally go do this, but this is not up to code, which that did affect some of the design a little bit. Um, but in terms of anything that we had thought about that didn't make it into there, I won't say that there was a whole lot with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just-
Anything that we have to do in the van like that, like the RVIA guidelines, they do that and they put that forward and we abide by them.
Okay.
So that's one of those things. It's like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if, let me check the book. Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was rules and regulations.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just thought you had to have a bathroom or some type of way to do your business, and a shower and a bed.
Right. Well, and again, it's kind of like when you're building a house too. I mean, depending now if you're out, you know, if you're out in the county or something like that, to where they don't necessarily have an inspector that comes by, you know, there's always that ability to do that. Or if you're doing like your own personal van build, like you can do whatever you want to in that regard. When you're operating, and that's one of the things like with these vehicles, like we're RVIA approved, and that also allows people to actually finance these things versus doing something to where it's, you know, I go to a bank and say, okay, I want to take out a loan, you know, to do this. And then it's like, well, you know, your interest rates, that's going to be potentially affected, stuff like that. And then you've got to get it insured, and it's not, well, this is not a listed RV company, and it just kind of goes downhill from there. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of one of those things. I mean, I would love for us to do like some cool flux capacitor type stuff. That'd be really, really fun. But I mean, I think we're doing really, really well. A lot of cool stuff in the future that's coming up. So, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's super excited to hear about the final features of the 2022.
It's going to be really, 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 really cool. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait till we get to show it to everybody. We definitely want to make sure that it's in actual physical form where we can show it working. It's going to be really neat.
I know. I bet. I can't wait. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So the headliner shelf. A lot of people get them.
Mm-hmm.
The Revel comes with. How come you guys decided not to do that?
So with respect to that, that's an add-on that someone else can do relatively inexpensively to a certain extent. That's not to say that we wouldn't eventually want to do that. There is some testing involved with that. So that might be something that's on the future horizon.
Would that be more of an option? Or let me back up. Are you ever going to make it where you can have options with the Storyteller, like with a headliner shelf without, you know, with a certain, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, that there may be one day where that is a reality. Right now, with the way that we're doing things, that we've got a very, very good, decent recipe, and that's what we're sticking with. And that seems to the ability with that is that reduces a lot of complexity. So that when we have like service points and stuff like that, that's something that it's like, well, you know, now I need your VIN number. Oh, I need your option code list, so on and so forth. So with respects to that, I'm future looking. That might totally be a possibility. Right now, that's what we're doing right now is what we got going on.
Gotcha.
So,
as far as design wise, what was the inspiration for the Beast?
So the Beast was, that was one of the really fun projects that we got to work with. I guess it was December 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Wait, I think that sounds about right. Maybe a year and a half ago. Anyway, it was December.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does. It does really, really fly. Because it's like we just got done with the Beast, and now we're doing the 2022, the Mode LT, all that stuff. So we looked at doing that kind of as just kind of an interesting build, something that could show the van with all these additional cool things, like stuff from Alvans, Illuminous products, stuff like that. We just did that, and there was such great and positive response from that, because it was just kind of like talking with Jeffrey and talking with Adam and talking with Lee, like, hey, let's do something cool. Okay, cool, let's do something cool. So we learned a lot on it, got to work with Adam on it, so on and so forth. He's just a wealth of knowledge in terms of being able to put stuff together. And also like, hey man, that's a really cool idea, but it's not going to work because of this. But that all being said, with the Beast, we specifically looked at putting additional parts on this vehicle that would enhance the experience versus just your standard mode. And there was such interest on that. It's just like, all right, we got to do this now. And then it's like, okay, cool. Cause like, if you look at the very first Beast prototype, it's essentially a white classic, what is now the classic with the suspension kit, so on and so forth. And then what we've got now is a lot more targeted and refined in terms of what we've done, like specifically with the KC lights and stuff. There was I'm not a lighting expert, and Adam is very good at lighting, and I learned a whole bunch about how to not choose lighting. And so that's something we got to work with and kind of experience and kind of learn together on. So, but that's kind of how the Beast came about. And then specifically the brush guard, that was a really, really fun project. That was kind of a midnight oil project because we had so much other stuff going on. So that was.
So I'm going to interrupt you real quick. A lot of people don't know that the brush guard on the Beast you designed from scratch up, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So please go into detail about that.
So yeah, the Tenzing brush guard, it was a really, really fun project. We wanted something that was a little bit, not necessarily a full bumper replacement. The design criteria for it was that it wouldn't, mess with the sonar. It wouldn't mess with the parking sensors or any of that stuff.
Is that why you decided not to go with the CA tuned or, something equivalent?
Oh yeah, the CA2, like the Hammerhead, it's really, really awesome piece of equipment. A little bit, we didn't want the ability to put a winch on the front because that's more of an extreme use case scenario. So that's something that we consider for like a super user, where that's like they really, really want that. And that product offering was awesome. And if people so chose, they could go do that. But with ours, we wanted something that was easier to install. Something that would hold lights, something that would provide some additional protection to a certain extent, and incorporated the parking sensors correctly, as well as worked with the front camera system. It works with that as well as the radar system. We wanted something that was a much easier level of install so that this could be installed in like 30 minutes instead of 3 or 4 hours. I don't necessarily know how long the CA tuned. I know that it's a pretty involved process to install.
I think it's like a half a day. From what I hear, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's also getting into bash bars or crash bars or the bumper and stuff. We just wanted something that was easier, better protection, had the ability for the tow hook. That's the factory tow hook. That's why there's that red badge right there. You take that off. That's your actual tow point. So yeah.
How long did that take you to design?
In all honesty, probably about, let's say 40 to 50 hours.
That's it? A week?
Oh, no, just about total 40 to 50 hours.
And then how do you manufacture that?
So it's pretty much laser cut bent steel.
Do you do it all in house or?
No, we don't have a press brake here.
Oh,
a big laser cutter.
Gotcha.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Well, that's really cool. And so for the bumper, can it fit on any Mercedes?
It can also fit. It's the 906 chassis. It can fit up to a certain year. So like if you were say like a first generation Rebel, probably fit that.
Okay.
If anyone is actually interested, like just definitely like send us a contact us. There's like one little small area that we have to look at, and yeah, it'll pretty much fit on there.
Because you sell the bumper on the website, right?
We do.
If I remember correctly.
We do sell the bumper on the website, and we've test fitted it on. Jeffrey has the very, very first mode that we built. That was the white one, built on the 906 chassis. We fit it on there, and it fit great.
Nice,
yep.
Nice. Okay. So I want to go into some questions from the community. Are
Sure.
you okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We had some good questions, so I had to make sure I didn't mess them up. I'm not going to say last names for privacy reasons,
That's cool.
But before actually I begin, Fred says thank you so much.
Well,
so from all of us.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for that. But that's a huge thank you to the whole entire team here. Which I wish they could all be in here right now. But we've got so much going on.
I know.
But yeah, that really means a lot. We really, 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 really do appreciate that. Like, you don't know how much that means. Like,
Yeah.
Seriously, that's a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question is from Karen.
Mm-hmm.
She asks, and you kind of touch on this, but what are the big picture concepts and inspirations that are behind the design? How do you revisit their design I'm sorry, I'm butchering this. Let me
It's
start
okay.
over. How do you revisit your design each year, and what drives the changes and improvements?
Okay, so overall design, very, very interesting. When we first started the company, we spent a really, 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 really long time about choosing materials. Um, that sounds like it's a really simple process, but it's not. Because when you look at the interior of this van, I consider it, I look at it more as like a recipe. That's just kind of weird, I know. But like for instance, the wood on the cabinets needed to work with the correct laminate color, which needed to work with the correct laminate flooring, with the moon boot material back in the garage. Like we took all those samples together and we said, okay, we really like this color palette, how this kind of works and jives together. Which I'm a little bit biased because I love mid-century modern, like kind of, West Elm, Eames lounge chair. I know those are super duper like mainstream or whatever, but like that's kind of one of the things that I really love about the van because it's just, I don't know, man, mid-century modern is just awesome to me. Which is also kind of interesting. Like if you look at the galley, it kind of looks like a guitar amp. I don't know if people notice that. When you look at that,
Oh, okay.
maybe a little bit. Like I know we got some like amps back over here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit with the buttons and the control panel. So in terms of like that, like that's one of the things that just kind of going forward, definitely worked a lot hand in hand with Jeffrey and Lee about, what that was going to look like. Andrew Cooley, putting an input. The other thing is that we actually hide Easter eggs in the vehicle.
Like real Easter eggs?
Well, no, not real Easter eggs.
Oh.
Everyone calls them Easter eggs. So for instance, like Mini Cooper, like Mini, in terms of automotive design, they always do like Easter eggs. These little tiny things that don't immediately jump out at you, but when you look at them, oh, that's really, really cool. Or like with Jeep does like the little Jeep along your window edge, like the window treatment around the edge, and that's to help dissipate heat, all that good stuff for the glass. That right there, they've got their little Jeep like going up a big mountain and stuff like that. So we have some things like we enjoy things like that. Like for instance, the fuse panel. I don't know if it's on yours. This was something that's a constant iterative process that we've done. But it actually, if you take it off on one of the little spin ports on the back, it looks like a record.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's I think it's 45 RPM adapter.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and like it's a little record player thing. That's what the fuse, your fuse panel is on the back of that. So it's just little things like that.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I had no idea.
So
What else?
in terms of Easter eggs,
Yeah.
just fun stuff. Like the only other one I can really think of is we have our QC guy here. His name's Matt, and I love Matt to death because he's about like 6'4", 6'5", and he does all of our QC stuff here. And he is kind of like a movies nerd kind of guy. So there's on his little sign off. There's a little tiny image on the side, and it's a wizard that's pretty well known for saying "You shall not pass."
Oh.
And that's kind of like for QC because like he goes through the van and finds everything. Him and Glenn. Very, very awesome individuals. I love them to death. Oh my gosh, they're amazing individuals and constantly sharing how we can try and improve stuff as well. But yeah, it's a little Gandalf the Grey wizard that's right there.
Are you talking about on the side of the door where it has a date and all that?
Yeah, and a little signature. So
I gotta go check mine now.
yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. Any other Easter eggs?
No, I think that's about it for right now.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Let's move on to the next question. This one comes from David. How did all the staff's prior RV and off-road experience come to play in the design decision?
So, specifically with some of the stuff that we've done previous to this, like in terms of RVing and whatnot, we've all done a little bit of camping here and there, so on and so forth. Also, what's interesting is that the whole concept of like overlanding necessarily, back about 10 years ago, like it wasn't, I don't know, it hadn't hit like mainstream yet. And it's also considered for van life as well. So this is still kind of a new thing to a certain extent. But with RVing experience, couple of experiences here and there, so on and so forth. But in terms of like going off road, Adam has been off-roading for quite a bit. I actually grew up with him, just kind of going out in the woods and stuff like that. Being around here, Alabama, like you can pretty much just find a dirt path anywhere and go, well, just as long as you're not trespassing, because you don't want to get shot at. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you will get shot, right?
yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah, sounds of banjos, all that good stuff. But the other thing is like before I started here at the company, I've actually got an old 1986 G-Wagon. It's a Geländewagen, which is a 300 GD, so it's the old school diesel, naturally aspirated. I actually got it out in the parking lot.
Is that yours? I rolled up this morning. I was like, dang, that is nice.
Yeah, it's got tons of stuff on it too.
I know, I saw it. It was sweet.
We call it, we kind of joke about it, we call it Overland Eponymous because it's got like all the things.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of fun to just kind of kid out. Might be a little bit of a front runner fan. Maybe just a little. But it's a fun vehicle. It's actually funny if you look at it right now. I actually drove that out when we were doing the video for the Mode LT. And one of the headlight surrounds actually flew off, which was kind of funny. So, but yeah, that's taking it off-roading a little bit. So, it's not necessarily like a daily driver or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, like we park it in our backyard, and you have to drop it into 4-low to get it out of the backyard.
Oh, wow.
And that's the most Alabama thing that I will say today. Got to drop it in 4-low.
Drop it low.
Yeah.
Okay. I have my own question.
Sure.
That is, was that you in the Sasquatch suit in the? No. Okay.
That was not me in the Sasquatch
Who was that?
suit. That was Eva, and she's one of our techs out here, and she's really, really awesome, great team member, and a very, very, very good sport for wearing the hottest outfit ever in the middle of summer in Alabama. She had been sweating so profusely. No, it was like, hey, are you cool? Well, it's kind of funny because like with mascots and stuff, like a lot of people don't realize that like you got to take breaks, man. Like you can't just go wear the suit for an hour at a time and just be man. Like you got to take it off. You got to cool down. Yeah, like especially in this Alabama heat. So yeah, she's a trooper. Wow.
Did she just draw the short straw on that one, or
no? She was all about it. Oh heck yeah, she was all about that.
Okay. Interesting. This one comes from Michelle. Mm-hmm. She asked, what trends are you seeing related to vans in the RV industry? Are you interested in improving existing Storyteller layouts or changing the layouts for more flexibility and or different owner interests? So
I'll attack the first one, which is about RV trends. Like we're seeing a lot of there's going to be even more competition in this space in terms of Class B fans. We know that's happening. That's also one of the reasons why we care as much as we do about constant improvement, because okay, hey, cool, you did a great thing. Okay, let's continue to make it better, not just continue to pump them out and so on and so forth. So it's constant improvement. And that's something that's really, really near and dear to us. And I will say, like from the forums, that's been very, very helpful in terms of seeing what people are doing. Like I love doing that. Like I love, everyone calls them hacks and stuff like that. No, that's cool. Like that's awesome. That's stuff that gets me excited because that's a different way of looking at things. It's a different way of solving problems, and they can also be really, really simple. The only thing I will ask about, like in terms of like on the forums and stuff like that, if anyone has problems, please like contact Storyteller, because like here's the thing, like we want to know about that. We want to have metrics over how that happened, when that happened, why that happened. We want to know about that so that we can put that back into our design process. Hey, we've really, really got to look at this. Dan, the Storyteller man, has been awesome at that. And he is extremely knowledgeable about that in terms of dealing with people and being that voice of, hey, this isn't working correctly. We really need to pay attention to this. Right. So, but the second part of that is that in terms of layout and stuff like that, that's all in the future. I'm not going to say that we're not going to do it, or that we are going to do it. We're going to constantly improve. And if there is a extreme desire or need in order to accommodate that, why would we not do that?
Right.
We constantly try. Jeffrey says this all the time, is that the best idea wins. So that's how we approach things with that. So if there's if there's something that's like that really needs to be addressed, or we can change or accommodate for that, then yeah, we totally will.
Okay. I'm going to inject one of my own questions again.
Okay.
What's up with the bug screens?
Bug screens. So the bug screens have been designed, like we actually designed those the first iteration. It's actually probably one of the hardest things on the vehicle. And the reason being is that the amount of communication that has to happen between here and the vendor it's not like you're dealing with wood or sheet metal. You're dealing with fabric. It moves. It's natural. It has give. It has all these things. So that in conjunction with vendor changes, so on and so forth, has been a lot more challenging than we would have liked it to. Right now, where we're at with these bug screens, we feel like they've been a significant improvement in quality. We noticed that there was a lot of quality issues, and said, "Hey, we've got to course correct." The sad thing is right now is that when you course correct, that's not something. It's not like turning on a dime. Like it takes a very, very, very long time to get that to where it needs to be. So this new vendor that we're working with has CNC machines that are actually cutting these out correctly. This is, it's a much better overall finished product that is able to be put into the vehicles. And then with the video showing how it's supposed to be put in, I'm pretty sure that they've released that. The instructions on how to release that. If they haven't, I'll have to check.
Okay.
I might need to go back and check that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that they did that though. But the other thing is that with these bug screens, is that the way that they're held in the vehicle is that you use Velcro such that you can adjust it how you need it to be. So if something is not fitting quite right, just adjust it a little bit. It takes some time. I don't want to say it's like dark magic or anything like that, but you've got to get it situated right. And then typically when Matt installs these here, when we have them, and we're now catching back up to that now. So this is going to be handled now that they're going to be shipping out with the vehicles. They will be installed correctly. They will be rolled up correctly. All that other good stuff.
Okay.
It's just one of those things because it's fabric material, right? It's kind of, it's kind of like doing, clothes for people, right? I know that sounds a little bit weird. Yeah, it's a vehicle. It should be exactly the same way every way, but that's great. But there's also some tolerance within fabrics that it's just kind of difficult. So yeah.
Okay. Have you guys thought about just going with Roloff?
Yes, we have. That is I don't know if I'm gonna be able to answer that question.
Does that mean we might see him in the future?
No, I'm gonna
wink
say
once for yes.
No,
Twice for no.
Yeah, no, I don't know right now. That's not to say that might be a possibility later on. I mean, we're always open for everything, but currently right now, no, not currently.
Okay. Because that's a big question with current owners. So, but anyways, okay. Moving on. The next one comes from Curtis. He asks, will there be an autonomous option? And he means like driving is my assumption.
Dude, that would be, I think that would be awesome. I don't know if that would, I mean, that's more on the Mercedes side of things. I don't know, like the whole like future for RVs in general, I think is really, really interesting because I mean, that's a really, really cool idea. It's like, man, I'd really like to go to the Smokies. Oh yeah, that's like a 12-hour or 24-hour drive or whatever. Okay, cool. We'll just chill in the back and, we'll do whatever we're doing. We'll do our remote work and whatnot and then just show up. That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. So then you just like do whatever you want to in your van if you're working and whatnot. And then you just show up there and it's like, all right, cool. Time to party. So
how hard is it to work in conjunction with Mercedes to do something like that?
Mercedes, in terms of autonomy,
or even Ford. Now that we got the LT,
we're working in conjunction with Mercedes, the Master Upfitter program. We've had a lot of experience with that. We're working with Ford as well in terms of this new mode LT development. They're very extremely helpful in terms of making sure that things are done to the way that they would prefer to be done. They're very explicit about that, and we work hand in hand with them on that.
Okay. Let me turn my phone back on. All right. Next question is from Steven. He asks, have you considered designing a stealth beast?
A steest or a belth?
Yes.
That's, I don't think we have, I mean, I don't know if I can answer that question.
Well, I will just say that would be really awesome. That would be like...
Yeah.
I think people would buy those things like candy off a shelf.
Yeah. I don't know. I really actually don't know the answer to that question on that one.
If you just murdered out a beast, how cool would that look?
That would be very, very cool.
I would.
So like a selenite beast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be badass.
I gotta say, I really like the selenite with the Tenzing and the little red. Like, I just like that, like that color combo. I like that a lot. And
Yeah.
the blacked out wheels.
Yeah. Well, food for thought, huh?
Maybe one day.
Okay. I'm gonna inject another question that I have in.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I've heard, and I'd like you to confirm or deny, but the pinstripe colors that are put on the classic, and even the Beast, is that tailored towards something specific? Why those colors?
That's a really, really pointed question. Have you heard? Did someone tip you off on that, or?
I don't know. I
You
mean,
don't
I'm
know?
just
Maybe.
wondering.
So those colors, yeah, they're probably a little, they're very 70s-esque for a certain reason. Those colors are very, very, in fact, the orange is really, really close to a blood orange, which is the color of the Carmen Ghia that I have. So blood orange was actually a Volkswagen and a Porsche color. So those color families are very, very similar to Porsche colors. So yeah,
Okay.
but also the kind of the sunset stuff.
Right. So is specifically designed after a color or some type of, like, I guess, a car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's just, the stripes. The stripes was one thing that we wanted to put on there that I will say that in terms of the RV industry, graphics are probably, and we're seeing this a lot, is that people don't necessarily like RV graphics. So we wanted to do something that was still an RV graphic, but not like, I don't know, the 1980s or 1990s like cup design that's got like the airbrush and like that's like the teal and like the purple stripe. Yeah, you'll know it when you see it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do that on the side of the vehicle, although I think it would be really fun to do that specific pattern on like a white mode. I think it'd just be funny. But yeah, in terms of doing that was something that was a little bit more minimalistic in terms of how it covered the vehicle, so on and so forth. So it's just kind of one of those things. If you don't like it, just peel it off.
Not that I did that. I'm just joking. I did that for other reasons, though.
It's okay.
When I did it, but okay, moving on. Next question comes from Wendell. Will the 180 Sprinter ever have a place in Storyteller lineup?
Again, that's one of those things that I don't know the answer right now. That's not to say that might be some future thing. No promises. Plead the fifth kind of on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
You leave a lot to be opened.
Yeah, I have to.
Next question comes from Robert. He asks, do you think you'll ever design or consider a 170 or 70 EXT, which kind of piggybacks off Wendell's question?
Here's the thing. Maybe one day. I would love the opportunity for us to do that, but right now, I can't say either way.
Yeah. Okay. Next question comes from Kimberly, and she asks, she would like a custom toilet to fit with a pull flush lever. Have you ever considered a composting toilet? Can you redesign the Groove Lounge without a gap and levers that are just as easy but out of the way of her knees? So that's two questions.
Okay. So with respect to the toilet, the way that has to be handled is it's so space constraints. Like it's just one of those things. Like I wish that we could put like a little, I don't know, like a black hole or something in there so we could fit like a full like bathroom like right there. That'd be really, really cool. But that is all limited in height by the ability for the seat to fold down to turn into bed mode. I think some people have found another one that kind of like comes apart and fits in there. But the other thing is with toilets, like those, if it's a self-contained toilet, that's I think a certain listing that has to either be applied to that, or if it is a bathroom facility. It's kind of one of those things. It's like I would love for us to be able to design something like that, but we have to remember at the end of the day, we're an RV company where we don't necessarily make toilets and stuff like that. That's not to say that we wouldn't love to partner or work with somebody on that to accomplish something like that, but yeah, that'd be great to do that. And then the other question with the handles and stuff like that, that's something we're definitely looking at.
Okay. Well, just anybody who's listening, I'll just share my hack. So I unscrewed all the handles and, just stored the extra handles wherever. And then the side that I use personally is the one closest to the driver's seat because I sleep there. So I just tilt my head up and then I bring my screen around and I just watch like TV or whatever. But so I just leave it there, and it actually stays on pretty well. I mean, I won't lie, it falls off from time to time, especially when I'm off-roading. But then if I need to move a different section of it, I just move that lever, because you only have to move one piece at a time, right?
Yeah.
So I just move it, and then that way, because I think
Oh, it's almost like a chuck or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you just do you have like a lanyard for it or something?
no,
No.
no.
Be kind of cool because like that way you could just like put it on there,
Yeah.
operate it, get it to where you need
Yeah.
to pull it back off.
I like the lanyard actually, because maybe I'll do that, because it does fall off, and then I play, oh crap, where's my
Yeah.
lever at? But maybe I'll stick a magnet on it with a lanyard and then
Yeah.
just stow it right underneath the frame.
Yeah.
Oh crap.
Yeah, that's a magnetic thing right there. So you can you can get from McMaster-Carr like some stick-on neodymium or however the heck you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Put it
the
on
really
there.
strong magnet.
Yeah.
No. Oh man.
Cool.
No, I'm just joking. But yeah. So, anyways, I take them all off, and then I just use the one, and then that's it. So that's how I kind of, and I'm short, and so I really feel for the people that are bigger than me, which is, I would say everyone, because I haven't met anyone smaller than me height wise. But that thing is like run like right on top of there, and it's a doozy sometimes when
Yes,
you're
it
not
is.
expecting it.
Yep.
But anyways, just want to share that hack. Okay, so moving on. Next question is from Jeremy. He asks, "What design compromises do you need to make to support more than one chassis manufacturer?" Okay, there's a bunch. So do you want me to just ask one at a time, or just go through?
Whoa. So
He has like two more, but they're kind of lengthy questions, so it's up to you how you want it.
let's attack the first one.
Okay.
So what was that again?
What design compromises do you need to make to support more than one chassis manufacturer?
So, I mean, with respect to that, I mean, we've got some specific things that we've done here that are going to affect some of the Mode LT parts will actually fit on the Ford. That's to also help streamline that process. So, in terms of trying to make sacrifices, we don't typically try and make sacrifices. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is what you see in a Sprinter mode is going to be in the Ford chassis mode for the most part.
Yeah.
Can you answer that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we don't want direct competition. Like, here's the thing: if you're going to have a Mode LT, you're going to love it. If you're going to have a Mercedes mode, you're going to love it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but here's what I will say: there, it does not make sense for us as a company in order to offer something that's quote unquote decontented here versus decontented over here. So, maybe that answers it a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
Thanks. His next question is, if you could wave a magic wand, what product or technology would you create to solve a major problem in the overland van industry?
That's a really, really good. That's an insightful question. Honestly, probably better, more compact toilets. That would probably be one of those. That's a little bit more ergonomically and better to use. If we're talking about total magic wand, that would be like the biggest thing. Because honestly, like in terms of like bathrooms and stuff, that's extremely challenging because we have so many regulations that have to play into that. That would probably be my biggest thing.
Okay. I have an idea with the toilet. Can I spit it at you real
Sure.
quick? So if you could figure out how to not levitate, but so you have the toilet seat, it compresses. You know, like those dog water bowls where
Yeah.
it expands and collapses like that?
Yeah.
If you can figure out how to do that mechanically,
Mm-hmm.
and then that way you have a bigger toilet, a taller toilet.
Mm-hmm.
You can leave it in the shower pan as it is, like height-wise. You won't have to mess with it, and you get a bigger toilet. And then on the base of it, you can have some type of swivel swivel base, basically, where you can turn it, and you can also, obviously, you're going to have to lift it up to take it out to empty it.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I'd love to do. I think that would be awesome. That would be really, really cool. I wish that feels like that should be that's a thing that should exist. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
But that's Let's make it happen.
I would love to make it happen.
Where's Jeffrey?
Where is Jeffrey? Probably talking to somebody.
Yeah, I know. He's always busy. I don't know. I spitball.
No, that's a cool idea.
I'm like you. I have an engineering brain, and so I like to find a problem. Well, I wouldn't say I like to find a problem. I see a problem, and then I like to try to fix it.
Right.
So I just thought it was kind of interesting because there's so, I don't know. Anyways, I'll stop.
It's all good.
So his last question is, where do you see the mode van design in 5 years? Will you release a technical guide or manual with wiring diagram? Okay, that's my bad. There's another question after that. So we'll just stop there. Where do you see the mode van design in 5 years?
That's another great question. Honestly, I think that's probably going to be probably derived a lot from what the automotive manufacturers are going to be doing. Honestly, it's just continuous improvement of what we're doing. That's pretty much there. There may be some other stuff that we eventually have the opportunity, if we're fortunate enough, which we have been extremely fortunate to do this. There'll be some additional stuff that we can potentially get into, because I mean, in terms of the overlanding space / RV space, like kind of the sky's the limit. So definitely don't want to sell ourselves short there. But yeah, it's it could be. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how a lot of people have talked about electric vehicles and stuff like that. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that eventually makes its way into our segment. And, if we're all lucky enough to be able to work with that and have that opportunity, we're super duper excited about it.
Cool. So this is his last question.
Mm-hmm.
Will you release a technical guide or manual with wiring diagrams, plumbing / wiring locations, etc.?
So that's that's kind of intellectual property type stuff. So
okay.
that's typically why we do that. We do realize that there's a lot of competition in the market space. The way that we treat things is very much how we do things in terms of serviceability, and all that good stuff. So
okay.
Yeah, at this time, not right now.
Okay. And Mike asks, will storytellers always have the capability to retrograde to upgrades to the new changes made throughout the years?
So here's what I'm going to say about that. This is a very difficult question. It's one that's really, really important. We definitely, as a company going forward, want to take care as much of people that have bought a unit as much as possible. So going forward, that is going to be increasingly more difficult because of the things that we're looking at doing in the near term. It's going to be, I'm going to try and make an analogy with this. My wife tells me I'm horrible at analogies. So if you look at an original 1960s Volkswagen Beetle and you compare it to a 2012 Beetle, extremely different. The engine, placement of the engine, all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying we're going to reinvent the wheel or anything like that, but it comes a point where it would be prohibitively expensive in order to do that. That's not to say that we'll have some ability in small areas to provide areas for where you can retrofit something. I can say right now that we have two small items that may be retrofittable. But going,
what are those?
Can't say that yet.
Okay.
Say that yet. Plead the fifth. But that will be something that will be adaptable to a certain extent. We still need to look at testing for that, so on and so forth. But going forward, that is becoming increasingly difficult because of the improvements that we are making. So, yeah, that's
no,
one
I
of those
mean,
things.
I understand what you're saying. Basically, you get to a point of progression where it's almost impossible to go back because that's old technology that just isn't capable to work being retrofitted and all
Right.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's, that can be top level surface stuff. That can be stuff that you never ever see in the van, and that's just something that we have to deal with. And it's one of those things that you make improvements where you can there's ultimate benefit. And you have to remember that when we make improvements, this is not just something that's just for users. We're extremely user driven, and that's one of the great things about the boards is being able to get some of that feedback. But the other thing is that we also have to realize that we do make these vans. These vans need to be serviced, right? So there are ways that we can improve service points through design, through us being back in R&D and installing this thing. And well, yeah, it really worked on paper, really great, not so much in practice. So doing that, especially with Adam, Dylan, and Dennis, Dennis has been, and Tara, they've been a fantastic help in accomplishing all that stuff, especially with this Mode LT release. We have to go through those things and we have to look at them. And again, that's something that is a serviceability side of things. It's also potentially better manufacturing for us, something that can be, if we can make it cheaper, stronger, better, but without a doubt not sacrificing quality, that's a huge thing. If we're gonna we're just not even gonna go there. We do not want to sacrifice quality. Mm-hmm. That's just a non-starter.
Well, that's probably one of the top 3 reasons why people buy a Storyteller is that quality. So,
right.
Yeah.
And we're we are very picky about things. Adam always jokes, we like nice things. Oh, we like nice things. So that's one of the things, like, but going forward, like, and that's, becomes another thing of, well, if we change this, then we can put a little bit more here in order to do this. So it's things of that nature.
Gotcha. I have a 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to get a bigger bed in the back,
mm-hmm.
is that retrofittable?
Yes, that is.
Okay. A couple more questions. I'm just gonna do kind of a quick fire here.
Okay.
On the Beast, why did you go with Agile suspension instead of Van Compass?
We had a good partnership with them. That's not to say that we want to or have to play favorites, and there might be some future partnerships in terms of that with Van Compass. Mm-hmm. But that's what we went with at the time. So
okay.
It's tested, so on and so forth.
And why did you guys go with the Agile Light RIP kit instead of the regular full RIP kit?
Now, that's a question for Adam.
Oh, okay.
That's a question for Adam.
Okay. And then is it on your radar to be able to hook up the Volta battery power system to the chassis battery? Because there's a lot of interest in that, especially when I did the podcast with Jack Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is a lot of interest in that. That needs to be handled through Mercedes-Benz, because we do work very, very well with them, and they are extremely helpful. The team at Mercedes, they're awesome. Their engineering team, their master upfitter program, fantastic individuals, but that's something that we would need to approach them and discuss with them. Insofar as right now, I don't know that there's any forward movement on that. That's not to say there will be or there mm-hmm. won't be. It's just, yeah.
Okay. And last question, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh boy.
As an engineer, do you prefer the Mercedes chassis or the Ford chassis, and why?
Got you. Well, so don't mean to correct, but I'm a designer. I'm not necessarily an engineer, even though I do some engineering like things, very, very light engineering stuff. I just want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that actually fits the question a little bit better as a designer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really, really great question. And I'm going to draw another analogy, and hopefully it's not a bad one. It's kind of like the difference between, like, I don't know, Sicilian or is it Napolitan pizza, like deep dish.
Oh, okay.
I really like pizza, and like they're both really, really great chassis. They're absolutely fantastic chassis. It's just kind of what is more targeted to what your specific needs are. The Mercedes-Benz chassis, with it being a diesel, I'm more of a fan of diesel. That's why I've got the G outside. Just it's one of those things. The Ford chassis is also really, really great with the EcoBoost. Its ride quality, so on and so forth. It's all, I mean, I don't really feel like you can kind of go wrong with either. I will say that the Mercedes side of things is a little bit better suited for a little bit tougher terrain. I'm not going to sit here and say that like it's ready to go to Moab or do King of the Hammers or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a little bit more challenging. Well, actually a lot more challenging with the Mode LT. There are some ground clearance stuff that's just the nature of the Ford chassis, so on and so forth. So they both have, they trade off a little bit here, and then they excel in this other area, and then the other van does the exact same, but just kind of in reverse. So it's honestly, I really don't think you can go wrong with either chassis. to be
Okay.
quite honest. I really like the way that the Ford drives. I love the EcoBoost, so on and so forth. But by the same token, I love the Sprinter. I love the turbo diesel in it. Both of the transmissions seem to be well sorted. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I wanted to give you some time and space to be able to address anything that you want to, especially with the new 2022 features that haven't been released yet, but will be, obviously, and things that aren't transparent in regards to like the design about what your job is and how you do it, or like if there's any type of narrative that you would like the audience to know.
Okay.
I wanted to give you some time to be able to express yourself.
Well, I guess first off is just I'm very, very extremely thankful to be a part of the team that I have the ability and honored to be with here. Like literally everyone here is they're just awesome individuals. They're just kick ass. They're rock stars, as Lee likes to say, and I totally agree with that. I'm very, very fortunate to have the ability to work with Jeffrey about specific things in terms of how that relates to design and how that goes out into the marketplace, how people experience that and engage with that. So very, 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 very appreciative and grateful for that fact. With respect to my job and stuff here, it's just we try very, 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 very hard. Specifically with comments that are made like Charlotte Freeman with the basket. We listen to stuff like that. That was like the little strainer basket. We've definitely addressed how that's looked at now. It's tiny little things like that. One of the biggest things here, and I think everyone here would definitely say this, is that we are very user driven and user focused in terms of how things are done with the van. So we want to get that feedback. So yeah, that's I'd say that's pretty accurate. We're just thankful that everyone has just been as awesome as they have, going, saying yes to the journey with us. And yeah.
Okay. You kind of basically touched on my very last question that I like to end every episode with, and that is, what does it mean to you to be part of the STO Nation community?
Just being able to celebrate with really, really cool people from all backgrounds and walks of life. I think that's really, really important, like diversity in terms of that, differences of ideas of how to solve problems, of how to enjoy nature and stuff like that. That honestly is probably one of the biggest and most important things to me, is being able to meet these people that are out enjoying and doing these really, really awesome things. That's just really, really awesome. It's kind of interesting. It's very similar. Back when I was growing up, did a bunch of, classic Volkswagen stuff, and like I was going to the shows. And what's funny is like, I was younger, I was rebuilding the car for like the 15th time. And it never ran, which anyway, but going to shows, even if I was showing up without, like I was just hanging out with people at, in these old buses and old Beetles and old Carmen Gias. And it was really the community that was around it. That's the most important thing ever. It's not about what is, and Jeffrey says this a lot. It's not about the van. It's what you do in the van and with the people that you meet. That's the most important thing. So that's got to be it.
Gotcha. Great answer. Well, thanks again for coming on STO Nation. I know you're busy, and
thank you for having me.
Appreciate you carving some time out, kind of last minute, because I did ask you last minute, but
it's all right. Yeah, we got some cool stuff cooking up. With regards to the release, it's going to be worth the wait. I promise. I promise. You're gonna love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, current owners, at least I saw in the Facebook group, is that they're like, hey, what we have now is quality. It's awesome. Like, it's not going to go backwards. Like, it can only get better, right? And so it's like, okay, like, just be patient. Good things will come to those who wait, right? So it's just nobody wants to wait.
Yeah. I don't want to wait either, man. Like, I want it to be out there and just everyone can see it and just be like, oh, this is so awesome. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It is.
It's coming.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Brent. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Young.
STO Nation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Young Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golsong.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
and the webmaster is
彭池
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Young Wah with STO Nation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.